Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. Again, Wednesday, February 26, 2025 at 3:52 in the afternoon. So we're going to hear from the Vermont Chamber dealing directly with the VITA bill. Is that why?
Yes, well, thank you, Mr. Chair, for having me. For the record, Megan Sullivan, Vice President of Government Affairs for the Vermont Chamber of Commerce. So related to the bill that you all are working on, I am here to just talk a little bit about employer-assisted housing, workforce housing, what's been going on in that space for the last few years. We've been heavily involved in legislation and working with partners to address this crisis. So I thought it would be helpful because while this committee is working with businesses, and so here's a lot, I am sure, whether it's in your districts or here about the housing crisis, just to set some background on what's been going on the last few years in this scope as you consider this bill. When we're talking about the problems that are facing our housing crisis, they're typically brought up in this arena of 5 L's. We have struggles with all of them in the state, I would say, and they include lumber, which are going to be your materials that go into housing. Certainly, tariffs on materials are not helping that situation at all. The laws, so these are the regulations. There was a lot of work done last year on Act 250. And continues to be work in this building on what are the regulatory barriers that are adding cost and time to housing development in the state. Labor, this is really about our workforce shortage, and I've got a slide on that later about even if we have the will and the space to build housing, we don't have enough people who are helping in that or who are working in that field to get the numbers built that we need. Land, availability of land, certainly, and we've got a lot, but we also have some pretty hefty restrictions on them. And then lending. So, this committee has a lot of jurisdiction when we're talking about housing in these sort of L situations, whether it's the materials, the workforce piece, and the lending piece. So really happy to be in here to talk about housing. So we started getting engaged in this conversation more in the last 4 years because our members were coming to us and saying, we can't retain our workforce and we can't recruit new workers to the state because of housing specifically, that this was the number one challenge they were facing. And when we look at part of the issue is the number of permits that we see taken out to build new housing units. And, you may say, how could we have enough housing for everyone that's here before, but not having enough housing for people now? And there's a lot that's changed in, whether it's family dynamics, we don't really see like a lot of families of 11 living in the same house. I know, for me, I'm been married twice. And so my son splits his time between my home and his father's home, and there's more family dynamics like that. So the need for housing as family structures have changed has certainly increased, and we've seen housing units in Vermont as they have not get built, more housing units go offline just because of their age. So when we see employers offering jobs to people, high-paying jobs to move to the state, we've seen them accept jobs, come here, and then not be able to find suitable housing. And they look at, the pay for that job may be similar to what they see in other states, but the cost of living is so much higher here that they end up not accepting that position. We have, one really heartbreaking story of a manufacturer in Chittenden County who employed two sort of an extended family of new Americans. And these families had assistance when they moved here. They've been working for this company for 10 years. They had really moved up in the ranks. They were an integral part of the community. and the company, and they were looking to buy their first homes, and they wanted, brothers and sisters to buy homes near each other. But they could not find housing for $400,000 in that area of Chittenden County, and so ended up moving to Ohio. All 10 employees that were there, because they were able to get homes in a neighborhood together. And it was a huge loss for that employer, a huge loss for the community. And it became abundantly clear that we needed to really raise the voice up of housing as an economic development priority, and as a priority for employers. And so, one thing I think that is important to understand is when we're talking about different terminology around employers and housing, I think of it in three different buckets. So when I talk about workforce housing, I'm talking about the type of housing, sort of, what are our standards for workforce housing? And it's not sort of every home that's built, even though, someone that lived in that home may work for a local employer. But when we're talking about building workforce housing, it's really workforce housing that creates complete communities. So housing that is near employment centers, that has transit opportunities and it's near essential services, to really get at how do we ensure that employees are able to get to work, get childcare, get healthcare, and creating these communities. And this workforce housing idea is true whether you're talking about an urban area or a rural area, because we have pretty incredible employment opportunities in every part of the state. Another term that we use is employer assisted housing. And so for me, employer assisted housing, these are programs that employers may implement that help their employees financially with housing. So it might be a program that an employer offers, a benefit that they offer for down payment assistance or for rental assistance. And there are different employers that do these type of financial programs as benefits. It could also be employers getting engaged in supporting community housing. And then the third bucket is sort of employer provided housing. And I think on one end of that is employers who may build housing and have a master lease where they have a certain number of units that they're leasing, or what was seen in a lot of hospitality, where they provide housing units, especially for their seasonal workers, their J-1 visa workers. So we see this a lot at ski areas or hotels where their employers are providing those housing units. We don't deal with a lot of agriculture, so I wouldn't be able to talk much about agriculture housing. But those, I think, are the three buckets when we're talking about housing and employers that I break these up into. So once we started getting involved in this, we really tried to work with the Diverse Coalition. We've done a couple of op-eds and a podcast to talk about some of the challenges to housing. And so these are two op-eds that we did. One was with myself and the Vermont Professionals of Color Network and AARP to talk about the housing crisis. And this was a few years ago to really talk broadly about how much this was impacting all of Vermont citizens and the different ways that it was. And then the other was from last year to talk about the importance of working together to find reform in our land use policies. So we've been engaged in this in a variety of ways, whether it is on the land use side or on the programmatic side. And so on the programmatic side, we've worked a lot with VHFA on that and ensuring that in their program offerings, they have offerings that really are impactful to a diverse range of employers across the state. And what that meant for me is we need affordable housing. And when I say that, I mean little a affordable, as opposed to big A affordable, which is more of the income restricted. We need affordable housing for everybody. And it's just not working. The numbers aren't working for housing at any income level. And so creating these programs that reach beyond that 80% AMI limit that a lot of our income restricted programs are targeted at, and which are important and necessary. But to say we also need a family of four that's making $130,000 can't get into the income restricted housing, and they can't buy a market rate housing the way that the market is working right now. We need those bridge programs to help. So the middle income homeownership development program was one that we worked hard on with VHFA. There's a description of what it does, but I think importantly, it does go up to 150% of AMI, the area median income, to allow for homes to be built that can be available for homeownership to middle income working families. The second,
Sorry.
Somebody got ice cream.
You know who the boss is.
you say she's the most important person. I mean, he's coming back with more.
Only if he's happy.
The second is the rental revolving loan fund, and this is a fund that was created in 2023 that hits more of the rental market, which is still, a huge part of our workforce. Also goes up to 150% of AMI and has opportunities for employers to invest in housing directly through that program. So it's a great opportunity. I think both of these are a great opportunity to get at home ownership and rental opportunities for our workforce in these other sort of brackets that are left out of where the market is right now, and the income restricted housing that we see larger investments in.
Because both of those is high priorities and are invited to a program.
Yeah, that is same for us, that these are two very high priorities. We are also very supportive of the VHIP and the MHER program too, as important opportunities for workforce housing. And one other important piece that I wanted to mention is engaging employers in the solution. So, as we've seen these programs roll out, I'll continue to get calls from employers and our members that say, we're really struggling this. We want to help. We want to be part of the solution. We can't just keep losing employees because of housing. What do we do? And we know that there are challenges with employer provided housing. I don't think any of my members want to be a landlord and an employer, right? There are some power dynamics there that create a lot of challenges. But they also are, business owners and want to see things get done. And when they're not seeing things get done, they need to take control for the ability to keep their business growing in Vermont. And so, when I was getting these calls and thinking, God, what are we going to do? I'm looking online and I found New Hampshire had an employer assisted housing guide. And I thought, well, if New Hampshire can have one, I want one too. And so called VHFA and said to the team there that, sent them this and said, how does Vermont get one of these? What do we need to do? Do we need to, get the legislature involved? And they said, no, we'll look at it and we'll create one. Incredibly responsive in that. And so they put this guide together, which if you Google Vermont employer assisted housing, I can't touch it and have it pop up, but it's a sort of comprehensive guide of different programs that are available for employers to engage in to help with Vermont's housing crisis. And the start really talks about where some of the challenges can be. We don't want to go back to our history of company towns. We need to ensure that there is a good separation of employer and landlord. But here are some ways that you can be engaged in the housing solution, creating more housing in your community for the benefit of the community, which will also benefit your company. This guide is a living guide. I know, BHFA has told me, don't bother printing it because we keep updating it as we're getting new ideas from other states and ways that employers are engaging in this. So I think it's a really excellent tool for Vermont businesses that are thinking about this. And it's a tool that we use regularly when I get those calls, when our team gets those calls to say, what are we going to do about housing? To be able to put this in front of them and get them in touch with the VHFA team. It's an important piece. We know that we're still not there, right? Those numbers are still not great. We put a lot of effort into how do we increase our housing production, and we're still at 25 units that are permitted to be built in the state each year. And we need to be closer to 7,500 a year to meet the demand and also meet the employment gap that we're facing from our demographic challenges. So more solutions are needed. And we know with the money that we've spent, we can't just fund the problem. We need to fix the problem. We need to look at all 5 of these and figure out, what are the missing pieces. And I know it's a sunny day, but one piece I just wanted to talk to the committee about. Because I know that this bill is about the lending side of things, but I also know that you all have great minds on workforce. If we are talking about the need for about 7,500 homes to be built a year, and we have 15,000 construction workers, we're not going to get there. It's 2 workers per house. So we need to be thinking about innovative solutions to address this problem. We have 10% of our 16 to 24-year-olds based on the Opportunity Index are not in school and they're not in work. We need to be figuring out how to get those young Vermonters engaged in really exceptional careers like construction and the trades. And where there are states that are graduating more kids in the trades than there are job opportunities, we need to be letting them know that there are job opportunities here for them so that we can change the workforce number in order to meet our demand number. So I want to leave time for questions, but I hope that was just sort of helpful overview of what we're seeing as sort of the landscape of housing and how it relates to employees and employment right now.
Question. So you said we have a leader bill. For us to bring another tool in the toolbox. Where there could be need for additional funding assistance to get something off the ground. Certainly don't want to supplant VHFA, but we want an additional assistance there if it's needed. Is that something that the chamber is supporting?
I mean, I think we'd love to hear more, right? Because we're looking for all the tools we can get to address these problems. So hear more about, what are on the lending side, what are the gaps? Where are the holes that aren't being filled and why? What's being left out? I know that BETA and VHFA working on development projects that include mixed use is an incredible way to add units in our downtowns. Where you get those lenders working together. so that we can have those upper apartments and housing units with the important retail and hospitality on the ground floor. So I think there are important questions to ask, to say, in the lending field, are there gaps? Are we not addressing an issue? Is there a need that's not being met? And why isn't it being met? And how do we best meet it? And this may be a solution, or there may be other solutions that are going to be offered. But I think those are important questions to ask.
I think there's other things that VITA can offer that may not be lending, but working with. So I think, and we'll hear more about that tomorrow, but I think there's that ability to just put another tool in the toolbox for this type of housing, worker housing. Not wanting them to get into any type of single home financing or anything like that. It's more from this issue, trying to.
And if committee members have time while they're out in the sun, shine while it lasts, and you want to scroll through the employer assisted housing guide, I would highly recommend, just as a way to.
They're naked.
Apparently,
I
we're
think
gonna
it's
great- apparently we're gonna great ice
I would highly recommend looking through this resource guide just to see what are the programs that are available for employers to be looking at as they're addressing this challenge in the state. Because I think it's a really good tool that we've developed in the last year. I didn't develop it, I just complained, so. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Megan.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
And as we roll this 98 out, there's more you wanna.
Also really support any permanent disaster assistance programming,
That's
knowing,
That's an ability.
yeah,
Reading that.
knowing that how
Well-
hard those things are to stand up every time there's a disaster, knowing that we're facing more and more of them, making it a permanent program makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
So we can probably do about 45 more minutes of working on the budget letter, so we'll be done for 5 at 4:30. I have to go to chair meeting. Be done just in time so the vice chair can go to her meeting.
What time do they? 6.
Oh, they're there till
They're there
six?
till
Oh, all right.
Once they run out of ice cream, it's all coming in here. We're gonna eat supper tonight. We're gonna need more yogurt.
I
too.
know. And I'm dying.
Me too.
Great, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah. Will the same invite work, Anne Grace? Okay. Then, so. I brought less stuff this time.
I didn't know that was gonna be the first one.
Okay, requested share access. Okay. I'll just go back to the Google Doc that Anna Gray shared with me, I think the one she was compiling. And I believe we stopped at the VSAC What's this here? Oh, about the Freedom and Unity Scholarship.
Yeah, it's a 5.2 million new.
If funds are available, right? Okay, so. We have this follow-up testimony. Not sure if this is important. It was in the,
No, good, we've done dual enrollment at early college.
so then we have the Vermont Community Action Partnership. The highlighting is hers, so I suppose that's the important part.
So it's the micro business lending program, the financial coaching and the tax. And that's, and if I remember right, budget, they raised, the governors put 3% in, and they're looking for an increase.
Yeah,
it was like-
148,000, 358.
It's like a total of 593,000.
Yeah.
That would bring it to 1.65 million for base funding. What would you like to recommend?
I'm high on this just because I know how much our communities rely on this.
I agree. I think for a very small amount of money, there's really a lot of impact for the people who need it the most.
I concur with those sentiments. I know in my area, I mean, the work that they do is truly critical.
So do shorthand here. So I know to type in later.
Everybody on board with support?
Priority level.
Super high.
Very high. Yeah, you could do very high. I like it. That's like a big impact.
High priority for everybody?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, the document ends there. Did I miss something? Okay. Is there another one integrated?
There's a,
Different tabs.
yeah, there's different tabs, but I don't think that's translate the word.
Organized, but I think.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to do Google Doc.
Organized too.
Let me, hold on, let me stop sharing. Gotta be careful when I click on.
You understand.
That's what I'll do.
Suppose that lower left box up there says Emily Carris Duncan. The Emily Carris.
From 91%.
So I'll tell you. You want to hang on. You get something.
All right, I think I figured it out.
Screen.
Yeah. So this is the Google Doc. We did. Did this one. Did this. Okay, moved to February 20th now. And you have ACCD.
That's all in the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already
We
done
already
this, I
talked about all
believe.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
CCD and.
Just tell me when to stop scrolling.
Next section.
Yeah.
Small business.
Okay.
Okay.
Right there.
Yeah. Can we click on this or?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought this was a really well-received program that had intended impacts and had the extra benefit of benefiting Vermont businesses on both sides of the interaction or the exchange.
Where's the dollar ask?
It's 1.25.
Over 2 things.
Over, nothing was included in the budget, nothing was included in the governor's.
Yeah, no,
Recommended.
right.
It also connects people to service providers like the Regional Development Corporation and other continued partners, which I think is another valuable thing about it.
Yeah, I agree with Jonathan. This is a high for me.
Agreed.
I also agree that this is a high priority. It fills in some really important gaps for small business owners and giving them access to services that they normally would not have the capacity to access. And it also keeps more jobs in Vermont. It creates a really good circular economy.
Everybody high priority support? Yes. Okay.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So the small business supports in the Senate was talking about memo that came to you and
Mhm.
Senator Clarkson and the Senate was talking about it this morning. Do we want to try to include any of this stuff in our budget letter?
Well, this is one piece of it, right?
This is one piece and the POC extra
POC
funding was
is-
one.
It's already in.
Yep, and then there's 3 more. This was a memo that came out of Small Business
I think-
Day.
Yeah, I think we were gonna like look at
Yeah, we
3 or
went,
4 of them, right?
yeah, one of them was creating a small business resource guide. They're calling the KIT, that was $100,000. One was more money for the free legal services, 150,000, and then potentially 300 for business advising for the Small Business Development Center. Were the 3 that we talked about, but I talked to Tom, who's on appropriation, so he's aware and basically said, oh, sounds great, except for the money, which it seems to be their standard line.
So I'm drafting their economic development bill and
Okay,
some of that is in that bill.
is in.
Yes, it's
That
it's
was,
not a bill number yet because it's a committee bill, but if you look at this morning, their bill under my name, you'll see the draft
okay,
and you can decide.
because they were getting testimony from that this morning. probably
Yes.
to put-
And I walk through that bill with them. So for what it's worth, you can see their reaction to various requests.
Right.
This was all for the 20th, so I'll click on the 21st. Vermont Housing and Conservation Board. 36.9 million. They want full statutory share for VHCB.
So this is one of the transfer.
No, they don't. Yeah.
It's never been funded.
What does that mean, that?
In statute, we say that they're gonna get a percentage of certain sales, and I apologize
Oh,
for
I see.
blowing it off the top of my head. Unless
Property
otherwise,
Property
unless otherwise,
Yeah, there's notwithstanding.
so they continue to request to get.
Have they gotten so share in the past? Yeah. Not the full, no, well, I mean, maybe far back, but. And I think what we usually do is, support the budgeted amount, but when possible, we should, go to the full statutory amount. So, something to that effect.
I mean, one of the main housing portions in the state.
And this happens to a lot of organizations.
Balance, they have the need for that revenue, but businesses.
High priority.
Yeah.
I look right? Then we have the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies. Is that big enough for me to increase it a little bit? Okay.
We've dealt with this already.
Mhm.
We support the RPC funding as proposed in the budget, and we've already weighed in on, oh, we haven't weighed in on MTAP yet. We weighed in on brownfields, and we weighed in on 9.1. The bond bank, and so I think the only thing supporting the RPC funding in the budget. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
High priority,
Yes and yes.
okay, and then the 3 million for MTAP.
Real critical for the small towns.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, but starting to get this sense of technical assistance, and we're not, and so I think we need to be careful of, I think there's another program that we heard from today, but that's not, but I think that's more of a project.
Yeah,
Downtown
and that's
Village
funded,
No, it's a thing here.
that's being funded by Lakey. I think.
Yeah,
Look
so
at it
they,
as-
yes, so
what are we
they're
doing?
they're putting together, I think, a committee or commission or a task force to look at all of the. So technical assistance is great, but I think. And I'm okay with MTAP. As long as it's going to new municipalities and we're not now going back to helping the same municipalities again, so. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, ice cream.
We do the speakers on.
He's taking some of the speed.
Yeah, the MTAP was designed. So this is where we're taking ARPA funds again and we're creating a long-standing program, right? So. I 100% we need technical assistance and we need to have it better organized in a way that isn't a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, and we don't have time. So. This is the
I
problem.
think in the end,
Yes.
for
the
that,
program.
it's the intention to
I should
figure
hope
out
so.
how to do that in an organized manner.
That was my
I sure
take on
hope
it
so.
too, is that they were recognizing exactly what you're saying. That was, at least what it sounded like.
So
Is it a high priority? Percent is.
Are we?
Money for RPC.
Brownfields, that's no. Do we realistically, we would not have high, there all seem to be high priority.
Yeah, I've not heard a single non-high priority.
sometimes we have a moderate priority or a low priority, or we say fund if money is available. But this is all of that. This is funded. This is in the governor's budget.
Yeah.
So,
No reason to take it out.
but you have it under the brownfields and not under the, just so you, we already brownfields in there.
Oh, okay. Is the, yeah,
We
this,
might have done the MTAP also if it's in, no, because that's not the
Right.
section that Rob
Right.
highlighted.
Remember that one?
it was in the brownfields?
Brownfields.
Yeah.
Brownfields we did.
That-
Brownfields already. For the governor's budget.
Okay. Then you have the 9.1 million investment for the Vermont infrastructure.
I'm sure we've covered that
Yeah.
We did cover that.
Yeah. B 1100N we did.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Serve, learn, and earn.
Serve, learn, earn is requesting
2.5 million.
2.5, and they had 2 million in the budget.
Then we get
Half a
500.
million.
Half a million.
Half a million in the budget. And this is one that we funded last year? At 2 million, do you remember?
Uh,
I don't remember now.
I can't remember what it was. It was significantly less than what they wanted.
I saw the letter that they requested about the same last year. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they went that way.
We don't have a link on this one. So what do folks think about this program?
I like the system side of it. I think is really good. There, it's not just individual nonprofits working on their own, but they're working together. I mean, I hear really good things about the programs. That at least are in my region that I hear about.
It was were the organizations like the Youth Conservation Corps.
Yeah.
Vermont Works for Women,
Works for-
Resource, Audubon, and then they've added Wood. Vermont Works for Women, and they've added a wood. A couple new partnerships.
Do
Michael,
we,
you have something?
do we want to find a number that we like and then suggest? You know, if again, like we did earlier for the waterfalls. Sure. There's more available funds than we'd like them to go here.
Sure,
So last year was 1.5 million, in case you were wondering.
thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, so resource, even though it says resource there, they're part of Youth Build. And Vermont Youth Conservation Corps, they definitely have had a pretty positive impact in Berry City, especially
Oh,
how
yeah,
you-
they did a lot
yeah.
of flood recovery. work.
Yeah, they do, I mean, they're training people to work in the trades.
and that's what I was just gonna say was, Youth Build it's a avenue for kids that are struggling in our school system to take up a different pathway. And
So,
whether that's a
Kirk is-
5 million.
well, Kirk is recommending
What did you give them last time?
$1.5 million.
Million and a half.
Representative Karis Duncan has her hand up. I don't know if you can see her or
Go
not.
ahead.
Yeah, you can. There it is.
Hi, I guess I just want to express maybe a marginal, not anything about the organizations, but mostly about a structuring thing, where I feel like a lot of these programs are running into CTE and adult CTE, and we have a number of job training programs across the state. So it would be maybe nice to see some way to get them under some kind of umbrella for efficiency's sake.
I think that's the general sentiment around the table. They're doing good work and could be done differently.
I would recommend 0.5 like we did last time, and with the recommendation, if there is additional available funds, that they be. However you word the waterfall.
If funds are available, fund to the full 2.5. How do folks feel about that?
Yeah, that would.
You want to add a note of any sort to express our thought? The need to look at it sort of holistically in terms of the
Yes.
various programs.
Sure.
Might lend some credence to our recommendation.
Something like we look forward to the executive director of workforce development.
Perhaps an introduction paragraph or that's all we have.
Yeah,
But
let's hold on, I mean, I think it makes sense. Yeah. We can say, so, okay, so what we would say is, as the executive director of workforce,
there we go.
what's her full title?
Executive
The
director.
Office of Workforce Strategy and Development.
Yes.
That one.
That one. Gets more, information. We hope that this program can be,
Integrated, collaborative.
yeah, integrated into building Vermont's workforce,
Okay.
transformation,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, I'll word this better, but it settles in
Awesome.
and.
You can word it however you think.
And you want that position to figure out a way to
Integrate this.
into one umbrella programs.
Integrate, a number of programs. This and
This
another
one.
one, and this and others.
Yep.
Similar programs into something.
Would love to see youth build be part of our school system. And I mean, that's just a comment and not something that we should put in here, but
What's the next one? I mean, it's tech ed, right?
Right,
Maybe
it's-
part of tech ed.
I mean, is that something that we can say
Right.
or no? Okay.
Pretty great comments. Do we want to?
You addressed this in the VSAC, right?
Well, we didn't because they're asking for 250 this year and then to pull it into the budget, right?
Sorry, I was looking at what the, okay.
We just mentioned,
250 to plan, to get plan and get ready.
yeah, and technical support.
That covers the bridge, doesn't it? Wouldn't that cover the bridge between McClure and?
They're saying that the 250 would help bridge, but who's gonna fund the program in 2 years is the question. And is it a program that we should be funding? Should we be funding free college without being concerned about people's ability to pay? Is that something that state funds should be?
I would think that wouldn't be a budget decision for us this year, would it? Or unless you want to build some sort of reporting or study or something
Well,
to.
the 250,000 would indicate that we support it.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The goal for 250,000 is unclear again on, but the goal is to have
Plan and
Tell me.
prepare for the transition. I feel like, does that sound right?
And providing supports for the students.
Support the students.
surprised the McClure Foundation wouldn't consider that a thing they would just have to do as part of holistically exiting this thing.
Can I say something? I think the thinking would be if it's not gonna continue. If it's gonna be continuing, like the state needs to start putting a little skin in the game. Would be the idea, right? And like start supporting the students for the future. Versus like them preparing students for the future when they have no indication from the state that the state will be taking it over. I don't know, that's how I read it. That's how I interpreted their,
I'm happy to skip this one and come back to it.
yeah.
Can we do that?
Sure.
Get the low hanging fruit.
No, skipped. Okay, the Vermont Arts Council. Oh, okay. I'm actually familiar with this one.
Yeah.
They want the,
We do this every year because they're required to have state money to get their federal money.
the one-to-one match, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like an easy thing to support.
Historically, we just recommend
Yep.
what they're looking for.
Support out their number.
I'd support this. This seems good.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maximizing federal funds.
Okay, then you have February 26th. Working Lands Coalition.
So they have $1 million in the budget. They're asking for an additional 2. They were funded at $1 million last year, I believe, he said, but they just gave out money from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, Thoughts?
Did they get lost, Tom?
Ellen?
Well, positives are that it is that it impacts the entire state in rural, and especially in rural areas. And I certainly know a lot of businesses who have gotten grants in it, and it's been very impactful, not just for their business, but for other businesses that work with them. So, I mean, the question is just if they can come up with $2 million. But, I mean, I would support it, if appropriations can come up with money.
Thoughts, other thoughts? I'm seeing some nods.
So, now what you're saying is you support the 1 million, but you'd like to see the extra 2 million and if it comes available?
Yeah, if we can, if the money can be found, 3 million, but certainly very strongly support the million that's in the budget.
I'll echo that.
It's a proven high impact program.
The question, Dave?
I'm wondering how we prioritize that, because I hear two different priorities there, if you will. One is million, yeah, straight ahead and gunner sport, as one of my bosses used to say. But 2 million that we're gonna wait and see if the waterfall happens. Is that an equally high priority? Because we just said it really isn't, if we're waiting to see if it's gonna be available or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it means that, like, depending on, like, I would just say, yes, it's a high priority. And then I guess appropriations decides whether or not, you know, if they don't put it in the initial budget, then I assume these things sit on a list if there is a waterfall, right? So we could just, I mean, I'm happy saying just straight up, we would support all of the money. But I don't know, you guys think?
We usually have like a chronological list of like importance of which ones get funded first, if funds are available. So they would determine, you know, they could look to your letter and they say House Commerce really wants this if funds are available. So, you know, words do matter. So if you want to say the extra ask is high priority, then I would suggest you say that if that's what you want to do.
Support that?
Yeah. Support that. That work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I support that.
Everybody's on board? Okay.
Childcare funding. Reject the governor's proposal to permanently reduce the base general fund appropriation for childcare by 22.5 million.
Easy support.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't know what other folks think.
Absolutely, you know.
Yes.
Too early to start figuring out what the eventual caseload is
It's too
gonna be.
early to.
I agree.
You don't wanna go down that hole. And it's just really, really important to.
Do we have any?
Workforce.
insight?
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask if we have any insight into what motivated that proposal from the
We need more money
administration.
because we don't have ARPA, so we might as well
Yeah, and
Yeah.
raid
raid different pots of money.
Yeah. And there are some, it's a new program. So there are, I think they're anticipating lower caseloads over the short term to fill the, you know, program requirements. But it's really early. And so they are really reluctant to have a cut in their, you know, base amount when it could very well increase, you know, over the course of the next few years. Once you cut it from the base, you might never get it back. That's the issue, I think. And what they're gonna do, they're going to, as I understand it, they're gonna create a reserve fund, Dave, so that it's available. If at some point in, you know, 2 or 3 years, it's not needed, I think, you know, some adjustments are gonna be made. Personally, I think it's far too early to do.
This is to not allow the base funding to get decreased at this point.
Right.
So
Yeah, I understand that. I was just wondering if, for example, I wasn't clear, and maybe I'm still not, that the payroll tax that goes to support that, is that a dedicated stream of funds? Is that showing more revenue than they anticipated, and hence then they can trim from the general fund? Was that the motive? Or am I mixing my budgetary procedures and?
Yeah, there's two components to it. There's two, like the payroll tax is not the entirety.
Right.
Right. And so
Understood.
I think that's, and I'm in agreeing with you're bringing this point up. It's like, right, is the idea that was there more coming in from that 0.44 than we thought. And as a result, instead of overfilling the glass.
Yeah, you still end up with the full glass.
And I think that some of the communications I was receiving from constituents throughout the first few months of the session have been about some alarm at making that an adjustment like that. I guess because the thought is once the base funding amount is tinkered with, then that's gone
forever. Yeah.
Kiosk, you know, it's gone. And I think that's part of the concern.
Yeah, so this is human services, right? This is mostly them, and we're weighing in on this and in the workforce piece, right? Both to provide workforce so that, you know, people can have people who have childcare can work, and also the workforce folks in the childcare world, right? Both of those pieces. And so we can dive in. You know, I don't have all the details because this is a side. We're not the primary committee, we're the side.
Right.
So I think it's fair for us to say it's too soon to make a change, to make a long lasting change-based funding.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the right wording too. It's just, it's.
do you have something you want to add?
I mean, I would like to hear their reasoning for it before telling or making a comment that we should reject the governor's recommendation. That's my opinion.
Has he provided reasoning?
I don't know,
It could be.
which is the reason why I would like to hear it.
Oh, his reasoning?
Yeah.
Like Ally gave her reasons.
Right.
But we don't have to vote on, we can just
Oh.
we can.
That would be,
I truly didn't dive into this one.
I just, you know,
I know.
that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I do not feel comfortable outright saying reject the governor's recommendation without hearing his reasoning for it. I mean, we can go into a whole conversation about, you know, the payroll tax and everything else, but that's not really for this conversation.
I'm just looking to see if I can find any language, but I don't see it quickly. So, what's the next one, or is that the last one? Just before we,
This is the same thing. Downtown tax credits.
Boost that.
Oh, and this is in the budget. 5 million is in the governor's.
So,
It's fine.
right, and so I worked on this on the Senate side, and I could not find the language in the governor's budget. I think it's a statutory change. In any event, we're not doing statutory language here, but I think you would just support that as a yes, up or down. But I guess this is curious. I couldn't find the language in the governor's proposed budget.
Are the two permanent staff positions here, the ones we have already talked about? Because this was Chris Cochran today talking about two permanent, but I
This
think,
is Chris's, yeah.
but we talked about them in a previous ACCD testimony, correct?
and this one both.
Yeah, but it's the same two guys, people. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
These are the two limited service positions and the other positions were being moved from limited service.
Yeah, but Alex Farrell's, okay, good. That's good.
I support this very much.
Yeah.
High priority?
It's to drive by our pit downtown Raleigh.
All right, the last one is the UVM Tech Hub. Asking for two one-time items. One is for College of Medicine ask. One is for a $1 million UVM Tech Hub.
We're only gonna talk about the $1 million tech hub.
Okay.
The medicine was not presented to us at all. Thoughts?
I didn't.
So, I mean, the tech hub coming to Vermont is amazing for our technology economy and for all of that. And to be able to support it with only $1 million and
Yeah.
have that be
Yeah.
it's a small, again, it's a small amount of money for a big reward. And it again shows the feds and other funders that the state is supportive.
That's my thinking.
Yeah.
Thinking as well.
And it's 1 million for 2 years of program.
Correct. For Vermont businesses to have access to something that they couldn't otherwise afford or have even access to.
I think a lot hinge, I mean, they're talking about like, yeah, online subscriptions at 95% off, and it just, there was nice of them to say that the software as a service stuff they'll have access to, they can see who's accessing it, which businesses where. So it does feel imperative that we take advantage of the potential for the distribution of it. Because I think that,
Agreed.
and so it feels, it's important to me.
Great idea.
Yeah, I think this is, I think we support it and I think it's a high priority.
What's nice is it kind of works with the timeline because it's gonna take us a few years to get proper workforce, proper housing. And these prototypes can be years in development, so I can see, personally, potentially someone will come up with something amazing. And just as they're starting to bring it online en masse, we've reduced our housing issues and our workforce issues. Dovetail's nice.
Is that our last one?
Yes.
We have 2 to go back to.
Yes.
I also had one other thing to add to. I'm supported on this, and two, also the Arts Council mentioned the 120 for the film office, and I don't think we talked about that.
We should add that. Thank you.
That was an inventory.
The database,
Yeah.
the filming.
To
Know about this one.
work with this database.
This one we've been talking about for a few years.
And a part-time staff position.
Times.
Yeah, and I think it helps the Vermont Production Collective have a staff person.
Yeah, we have a lot of film that films in other areas and says they're in Vermont because we don't offer any supports at all to the film industry. So, and there was a lot of money given back to the state just from the Beetlejuice. So it's something that if we can get the tax revenue from, and only put in $120,000, I think they got, say $500,000 tax revenue from the filming there, some number that was exponential.
Not to mention the tourism from fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll also help local companies who need digital services and can't access them.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of like video production, like where do you go to figure out who would do a video production?
Last I knew, they were listing venues and stuff too.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you for bringing that one up. Anything else now?
Yeah,
I can't remember, it might not have been come up to this committee or it might not be our jurisdiction. I know there's an emerging uh, pathways fund for teachers to be able to earn their teaching licensure while they're in college. Did we hear anything about that, or is that some education committee or something like that?
Yeah, it's something that could, are they asking for money this year in the budget?
Yes. Can't remember.
Something that we should have heard about, but I don't know that we did.
PSAC, right?
I think,
Is it the from the kingdom?
yeah,
That
I
one
think
that we heard
it was
about when we were
John
at the tech
Castle up
center?
there. There was, I'd asked him sort of, he said, what training programs do you
Yeah.
think would help you? That was the one that he singled out.
I don't know that, I don't remember them having an ask for this year. But it is a program, you're right, that's incredibly successful and
Yeah.
growing teachers.
Yes, I think they're looking at 200,000 to continue the planning process to develop it in that full program. I think that's what it was about. I'm not going to be a very good explainer, but.
But you have the name of the program?
The Emerging Pathways Fund. It really started in 2023. And they're looking to extend and expand it. Ideally, 1 million over 3 years to really build that, but I think they're zeroing in on a 200,000 planning grant to get things rolling.
Was this something that we heard about in this committee?
When we were in Newport, they were talking about it. But
That's
they-
what I
But
heard.
they didn't actually, we have not had a full presentation
True.
of the program.
I think you're right.
So I think we kind of had it on so maybe we don't write about it because we didn't have a full presentation. They probably should have.
I can hear that. I can understand. And I think so. I think Aaron, Brady, in education.
Yes.
One other issue, I don't think we brought up. Did we talk about primary care is a big deal? You know, and trying to supplement our primary care workforce, really shorting out in that, and we're gonna lose a lot of folks. I don't think we heard anything.
We didn't.
From that.
Yeah, we don't, nobody has a. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody came to us with a
Sure.
workforce development need of funding, which was disappointing. Appreciate you bringing them up, though.
I mean, I can idea.
Anything else that we heard from that we didn't put in our record?
So one quick thing, these are those three things from we heard from them, but not maybe the specific ask. I just emailed you the three. One was the Small Business Resource Guide, $100,000. Then legal services at Vermont Law and Graduate School, which I think she talked about.
Oh, did
money.
she ask for money?
She's asking for $150,000. Although I don't know if she specifically pitched it here. She was pitching it to Summit downstairs
Okay.
and sent it in this memo to,
I remember her pitch, and it was for helping businesses
yeah, with free
form
legal
their
advice.
company, their partnership or the nonprofit laws. It was and it sounded like they're doing good business.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Is that from,
So all three of these asks are for working with businesses that have under 20 employees. So the 93% of businesses that are under 20 employees. So one was this definitive resource guide where they would basically figure out all the resources across the state and put
but
it,
that wasn't presented to our committee?
that was not presented to our committee. So maybe we can't weigh in on
Yeah.
that. So free legal services was, although I don't know exactly if she put the ask that day.
Yeah,
And same thing with the small business advising, which is Vermont Small Business Development Center. It sounds like maybe this is making it into the center.
at it.
okay, so let's leave it there, because I know we had presentations, but I don't think we had specific.
They weren't the
budget
specific,
presentations.
yeah. That sounds good.
Okay, so we have two that we
Excuse me.
passed on to come back
The
to.
McClure Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
Do we want to say need more testimony?
I mean,
I have big issues again with funding college for people who can afford it.
yeah.
So I think we need to get more people in school, and I think we need to find ways to get them there and support them and do all the wraparound services and make sure that they have the things that they need to be successful. But it's not necessarily money for the program.
Right.
So that's my personal.
I would agree.
I do too.
Right? Are we okay leaving it just like that? Need more tests? Okay, and then what was
Yeah.
the other one that we skipped?
Do you want to flag the issue or just more guess?
It isn't really my confusion, not anything you've said, but we wouldn't really want or need more testimony from the foundation, but from
Correct.
our side of the house to see, could we even stand this up and would we be interested in taking it on all that
Correct.
kind of thing, right? Okay.
Yeah, we don't need more from McClure. We need
Right.
more to understand the big picture of who's getting
Exactly.
funding and
Okay.
what we're doing and how we're making sure folks get the education that they
We're on
need.
the same page. Very
Yeah.
good, thank you.
And
Sure
also if it's crossing over into other program areas of funding.
Right,
So how would you summarize that?
just like that.
Well, I took out the need more testimony because
And
you want to put that back in?
just need more information.
Yeah.
Information.
Need to learn more.
I couldn't find the other one we skipped. I didn't look too hard. Let me see here.
I just remember one, but it could have been me.
But I thought we wrote skipped on one.
That's the one that I,
That was the one.
yeah,
That was that one?
yeah, that was that one.
We finished the Let's
I mean,
Grow Kids?
I don't think.
Which one?
We finished Let's Grow Kids?
We did.
Okay.
I don't remember finishing that.
You don't remember finishing that?
No. Cause
No, we didn't
I
finish it.
certainly didn't.
I don't recall.
We didn't-
We
didn't vote or.
Oh, that
Okay,
one.
okay.
Childcare funding.
As long as,
Childcare fundings.
Thank you. Okay, so there's two things. There's this. I have this as a placeholder.
That's all we have.
Yes.
We didn't, and it's not our job to get more testimony on the appropriate, right, it's appropriations and ways and means. And so it's our job to say, make sure that childcare is fully funded and somebody else figures it out. All we can say is, we haven't heard anything that says it's appropriate to change, to make long lasting changes to anything at this point.
and I'm just not comfortable saying I reject the governor's rejection.
I mean, for all these,
Yeah.
we'll end up voting, right? And it'll be
Correct.
whatever it is showing.
Yep.
Right,
Is it just the one we got all these letters from that
correct.
they were gonna say, oh, we got tons of money from Act 76. Let's cannibalize some of that and we'll put childcare funding here, but we're not really gonna,
Oh, on the BAA.
yeah. And then at first we were very opposed to it and then we decided it was okay.
Process wise,
What,
Okay,
Sorry, I just wanna, you're gonna write the letter in a way that we can read it and then we're gonna bring it back and vote on it?
that's what I was, yeah, that's my.
Tomorrow, I assume?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So let's put this one on hold. I don't wanna do anything without the chair here on this one. I know he has strong feelings and I don't want to, I don't want that to get drowned out. Is that fair?
that's really, yes.
All right, so it's, I think we're good for the day. You have something?
Are you gonna talk to the chair offline? Okay, and then,
Yes.
okay.
Well, but you'll come back maybe tomorrow after 4?
Yep. Hold on. Say that.
Yeah.
What time is 4 tomorrow?
3.
Oh. Oh,
Just one.
tomorrow afternoon's gonna be really tough.
You tell us when you can come in and we're gonna find 10 minutes.
I can very least email the letter to Anna Grace and then you all can look at it and if I'm not here, you can still vote on it. I don't have to be here to
Perfect.
do that, but maybe
That's
Anna
perfect.
Grace can make it if there's certain edits. It's not gonna be like a legal document. It's just a letter.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Not great.
No, thank you.
Okay, so we are back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. We are gonna talk more about career tech ed reform. We have the secretary and other folks from the agency here, along with APA Consulting and some folks from the Department of Labor. So we will be digging deep into tech ed tomorrow morning. Get some sleep, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
See you tomorrow, everybody. Have a